welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Maria and today's video is just going to be a festive reading vlog. So just taking you along with me with my weekly reads, and there will be a little bit of festive coziness, so I'll be putting up my decorations and just really trying to get into the festive spirit this week. Now, I don't really have a lot of Christmas books, so I don't have a lot of books on my shelves that are kind of set at Christmas or around Christmas. I do have one which will be on my TBR this week, but mainly I'll just be trying to pick up books that I think are more appropriate to the winter season, so seasonally appropriate I suppose, and also be trying to dwindle down my huge TBR for December. So if you didn't watch my December TBR, definitely go and check that out, but if you did watch it, you'll know that I have quite a big stack of books to get through this month, so definitely just trying to crack on with that and get through that as soon as possible. So the first book that's on my TBR in December is Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. So this is kind of set around what they call the Great Holiday, but essentially it's set around Christmas time. I feel like it's going to be very atmospheric, very whimsical. I love Stephanie Garber's writing and I love Caraval as well, so this is basically a novella within the Caraval world. I believe it's going to be following mostly Donatella, who is the sister from Legendary, so the second book within that trilogy, but I don't know too much about it. And it is a novella, so it is quite short, and most of the pages are actually filled with illustrations, so you'll see there's a lot of these illustrations as we go through, so I don't think it'll take me too long to read. I think it'll be a fun quick read, just get me in that festive spirit and get me in the Christmas mood. So this is the first one I'm reading. It's actually a buddy read with my friend Gina on bookstagram as well, so definitely excited to jump into this one. And then after that I'm going to pick up The Bear and the Nightingale. So this one is definitely one that I've heard is best read in winter. It's very atmospheric. I believe it's set in Russia and it's kind of going through Russian folklore, fairy tales, and I believe it's a bit of a retelling of that as well. So I'll give you more of an update on what this one's about when I start it, but again I just think it's going to be a really atmospheric read for this time of year, now that the colder weather is set in. And then lastly, alongside both of those, I will be continuing The Dawn of the Cursed Queen. So this is the third book in the Book of Azrael series. So this is an urban fantasy following an FMC who is essentially the villain at times within this series. It's quite a wide cast of characters within this, especially going from the first book to now. It's really delved into a lot of different characters, and I would say it's quite comparable to Crescent City. If you enjoyed Crescent City, I would say this is a series you probably want to check out because, dare I say, it's maybe better developed than that series. The jury's still out on that, but I would say that if you did like Crescent City, you'll probably like this because it's a whole host of different characters. There's a lot more morally grey characters within this. You're kind of always battling in your head who the good guy is and who the villain is, so definitely a lot of plot in here. It's a really rich world, really dense. The writing style is kind of comparable to if you watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer or The Vampire Diaries or anything like that. That's kind of the vibes I get from this, so if you love those shows, again, this is definitely one to check out. But this is the third in the series and I'm already around 30 to 40% into it, so getting through it quite quickly, really enjoying it. I've really loved this series so far, so once I've read this I'll actually have finished the series that's out to date, and I think the next book comes out next April, so I'll be ready well ahead of time to pick up that book as soon as it comes out. So that's the TBR for this week. As I say, Spectacular is pretty short, so I don't think it's going to take me too long to get through that one, so I'll give you a bit more of a synopsis on that one once I start reading it, and once I'm finished that I'll then move on to The Bear and the Nightingale. But yeah, just planning, as I say, to get really festive and cozy this week. Hopefully get through some of these reads, might even fit in another one before I need to get the video up, but it's likely it'll just be these three books that I talk about this week. But yeah, as soon as I've read a bit more of these, I'll jump on and give you an update. Just jumping on because I have now finished Spectacular by Stephanie Garber, and this did kind of deliver exactly what I was looking for. So it's very whimsical, very Christmassy, but I will say it took a little bit of a dark turn in the middle, but I don't think I gave you a description of what this one's about. Basically it is a novella set in the Caraval world. It's set around the Great Holiday as they call it. So Scarlett, who is one of the sisters from the Caraval series, is planning a big celebration for the Great Holiday, and obviously that brings a lot of whimsical, very Christmassy vibes, and I think that was executed perfectly perfectly in here. Definitely gave me all those Christmassy vibes that I was looking for. But the main story is actually following Donatella, who is the other sister within the Caraval series, and she's trying to find the perfect gift for, I'll just say, her loved one, because if you haven't read Caraval, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil kind of the relationships in there, but she's basically trying to find a perfect present for her loved one who isn't really the biggest fan of the Great Holiday. So we're just kind of following her, trying to figure out what she should get for him, and again just brings us on a bit of a ridiculous mission, and it did get a little bit darker than I was expecting it to get. I was a little bit shocked at kind of the direction that it took in here, but by the end it all kind of makes sense. But yeah, I would say there was some bits of it where I was kind of thinking, this is not a Christmas story, but for the most part it definitely gave those Christmassy vibes, the whimsical vibes that we're used to from Caraval, and I would say the Caraval does kind of give that feeling of kind of a dark fairy tale, and I think that's exactly what this was as well. So yeah, I did really enjoy this. It was a pretty quick read. I think I was listening to the audiobook while reading it, and I think the audiobook is around 2 hours long or something like that, so really quick, because even though it does look a little bit chunky, half of the pages in here are illustrations. It's an absolutely beautiful book. So these are the end papers, then you do get some illustrations of the characters in there as well, and I'll just flip through really quickly because I don't want to give any spoilers, but as you can see, most of the pages kind of have big illustrations on there as well. And this is one of the exclusive editions, so there is some foiling on the hardback as well, and I do actually have another edition of this book. So this is from the box set that I got. So I got a box set with all of the Caraval series, and this was part of it, so obviously slightly different colour. I think this may be the standard cover, and that one is a Waterstones exclusive, so just to show you the difference, one is white, one is black, obviously with the foiling, but this is part of the kind of 4-book box set, so it does have some sprayed edges as well, and the end papers are slightly different in this one, a little bit darker. Then again there is some foiling on this one, but this one is slightly different than that of the other edition. But again, this one is full of illustrations and really pretty kind of Christmassy pictures as well, so both really beautiful editions. But yeah, overall I think this is a perfect read for around this time of year. If you've got a couple of hours free and you're just wanting to read something that's going to be very Christmassy, very whimsical, and if you've loved the Caraval series and you just want to get a bit more from these characters, I definitely say to pick this one up. I do wish we got a bit more of Scarlett and her loved one in this one as well, but it was really more so a Donatella story. So yeah, definitely recommend it. If you love Caraval, I think you'll love this one as well. I love Stephanie Garber's writing, so I knew this was going to be a hit for me, but I would rate it around 4 stars, just as I say, because the middle bit did get a little bit weird. But other than that, really enjoyed this. Vibes were perfect, and yeah, overall a really good Christmas book. I'm also still reading The Dawn of the Cursed Queen, and I'm around 70% in, so I've made a good indent in this as well, and really loving this. I think this may be my favourite book in the series. It would be between this one and the first one. The second one was a little bit slow at the start, but as soon as the story started going again, I really loved the second book. But this one I've just loved from the first page. We're getting a lot more about some of the characters, I would say, who are on the other side of the battle, understanding some of their backstory. There's new relationships forming as well that I'm really enjoying, and just the strengthening of the relationship between Diana and Sam Cale as well. Really loving it within this book, and definitely, as I say, if you love Crescent City, or if you love Buffy the Vampire Slayer or the Vampire Diaries, that is definitely the kind of vibes I get with this book. So if you're a fan of any of those, definitely pick this series up. It's been really good so far, and excited to see where this book goes. But because I did finish Spectacular, I am going to now pick up The Bear and the Nightingale. As I say, this is a very wintry themed book. It's set in Russia, set in the winter time as well, so I think in terms of vibes it's going to be perfect. Basically it just follows our main protagonist Vazia, who is a young girl who is basically able to see spirits and ghosts that guard her home, and she starts to sense kind of a dark magic or a dark force within her town and coming around her house, and she's trying to tell the adults about this, but I believe that no one kind of believes her. She does have a servant who kind of tells them stories of folklore and the Winter King and tales of magic of old, and I'm guessing that's all going to tie into what Vazia is able to see as well. So really excited about this. I've never read anything from Catherine Arden, but I've heard great things about this book and about this series as well, and really excited to pick this up. So hoping it's going to give me kind of dark, wintry fairy tale themes, perfect for this time of year. So once I've read a bit of this, I'll come on, let you know my thoughts and feelings, and hopefully it'll be a good update and it's one that I'll be enjoying. Hi lovely, so just jumping on with an update for The Bear and the Nightingale. So I'm at chapter, I think it's 13, so I think I'm probably around 30% into this one now and really enjoying it so far. I think what I've read so far has definitely just been kind of the setup of the story. We get a lot about kind of Fascia's family and her family's past life and kind of how they got to this point and where Fascia came from. And it's actually interesting because I thought we were going to be following kind of her point of view throughout this, but we're actually getting a multitude of point of views in here, kind of ranging from her father, her brothers, her sister, as well as they have links to some of the nobility and to the royal family as well. So we're getting quite a few different viewpoints in here, and it's actually reminding me of Anna Karenina, obviously because of the setting being in Russia. It's kind of giving me the same vibes, but also because it is at this point kind of just following day-to-day life for these families and kind of the state of things in Russia at this time. But then also obviously the links to the royal family and kind of following their life and things that they're thinking about and the politics of it. It's just giving me those same kind of vibes, but obviously I'm guessing from this point onwards we will get a little bit more of that magical realism in there. We're starting to get a bit more from Fascia's point of view in terms of the things that she can see, the demons, the devils, the fairies and whatever else it may be. So I think it's going to start coming into the story now, and there is another character who is also seeing these things. So again, I do think that's something that's going to come into the story a bit more now that we're in. I think this is technically part 2. So I think it will start coming into the story, but so far really liking the writing style, really enjoying the story. As I say, so far it has just been a bit of setup, I think, just for the story, the setting, the family, and kind of the situation that they're in, and there's several different storylines kind of going on within this. We're not just following Fascia as I thought we would be from the kind of description on this one. But again, it is a good thing. It's definitely a bit more slice of life at the minute than I had thought it would be, but as I say, because I'm only 30% in, I do think that the real story is going to start from now, and we're going to get a bit more of what was promised in that blurb. But yeah, really enjoying this, enjoying the writing style, definitely giving me the wintry vibes that I was expecting from it as well. So yeah, all in all, so far so good. So once I've read a bit more of this, I'll jump on and give you an update on it, but it'll probably be tomorrow morning. This evening I will be reading a bit more. We've got a bit of a storm coming, so I'll have loads of reading time tomorrow, because basically it's just going to be gusty winds and rainy and the perfect day for a reader just to stay in. So I'm secretly looking forward to that. So I have a bit of a free day tomorrow for reading, so I'll definitely be able to finish this. I think there's only around 3.5 hours left on the audiobook, so I'll definitely be able to get this one finished. And then I have been still reading The Dawn of the Cursed Queen by Amber V. Nicole, and again still really enjoying that. I'm at around 85%, and this is one of those books where if at 85% things seem to be going okay, start to panic. So I'm just waiting for something to happen at the end and for it to be explosive and things to go wrong. But again, that book's just really good, but I'll come back on once I finish that one and give you an update on that one. But as I say, for this evening it's just going to be more reading because it's just really cold, really windy. As I say, perfect conditions for readers just to stay in and cozy up with a book. So probably pop on tomorrow morning once I have a few more updates on my reading. I'll probably finish The Dawn of the Cursed Queen. I should have read a little bit more in The Bear and the Nightingale, so as soon as I have some more updates I'll jump on and let you know. Lovelies, so it's the next day, and as I was saying yesterday, we've got a bit of stormy weather today, so it's definitely a stay in your PJs type of day. So literally just going to be snuggling up today, just finishing my reads. So I've only got about 20 minutes left of this book. I think it's only about 20 pages actually of this book, and the last kind of 5 to 10% has just been giving me whiplash. It's kind of, oh, everything's okay, oh no it's not, oh yes it is, oh no it's not. So definitely excited to see how this one finishes off, and I know there's 2 more books I think after this, so I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a happy ending. So it's probably going to be a cliffhanger, and the new book isn't out until April, so kind of kicking myself for picking this one up so soon, but really excited to read the end and see where the story finishes. I'm guessing this one is going to want to snuggle with me. So yeah, basically just going to sit now, finish the end of this, and I'll let you know what I think when I'm finished. So I just finished this. As suspected, it ended on a cliffhanger. So yeah, literally that last 10 to 15% just gave me whiplash. We were kind of at points in it where, like, don't get me wrong, there was lots of things that they still had to resolve, but if you'd just finished it at like 80 to 85%, you could have pretended it was a pretty happy ending with this one. But yeah, I just knew when there was still like 15% left, there was just going to be some crazy things happening with this one. So really loved this, really enjoyed this installment of it. To be honest, this series is really becoming a 5-star series for me. When I read the first book, I wasn't too sure about it. It was a little different than what I usually read. I'm not a huge urban fantasy reader usually, but this is one I heard a lot about and I just really wanted to pick it up and see what it was about. It took me a little while to get into the kind of the characters' rhetoric and kind of her sassiness and her quips and things like that. So in terms of that, it did take me a little while to get into it, but once I got into it and kind of got the vibes of what this was about, that it was going to be kind of like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer, kind of the Vampire Diaries, it's really a series that I've got really invested in the characters. And after that first book, it really does widen up in terms of the world, the lore, the history. It's a really rich and dense story as well. So yeah, definitely recommend this series if you haven't picked it up yet. Even if you're not really into urban fantasy, I definitely say that for me, urban fantasy is one of the least favourite subgenres of fantasy for me, but I've got a few favourites. Obviously the Mortal Instruments is one that I've always really enjoyed. Crescent City, I enjoy that as well, and then this one is becoming a fast favourite for me as well. So yeah, I think I'm going to give this one 5 stars, to be quite honest, because it's a book that I just couldn't put down. I really wanted to pick it up over and above most of the other books that I've been reading. So yeah, I think for me that's enough. Just in terms of vibes, it's definitely a 5 star. I think for the rest of the day I'm just going to be chilling, as I say, just going to be reading. So I've got about 3 hours left on the audiobook for The Bird and the Nightingale, so I am reading these all physically, but I do like to listen to the audiobook as well while I'm reading. And sometimes I have a little reading buddy that makes it a bit difficult to hold a book, so having the audiobook to kind of help me get through it always helps. But just going to chill for a while now, have my coffee, might catch up on a bit of Booktube now that I've finished that book, just give myself a bit of a mental break before jumping into this. But definitely going to be trying to finish this today. As I say, I've only got around 3 hours left, so I think that's definitely doable, but definitely just going to give myself a bit of a mental break before jumping into this one since I've just finished that last book. So yeah, just a bit of coffee now, some cuddles, I think, a bit of Booktube, and yeah, then we'll jump into this one. Hi lovelies, just jumping on to give you a quick update on my reading with the Baron and Nightingale. So I'm around 65% in now and still really enjoying this one. I would say that the pacing has been quite slow, so it has been a little bit jarring at times because I've come from two really fast-paced books to this one, which is much more slice of life, going through kind of the daily lives of all of the people within this family. And I believe this is set in medieval Russia. I'm not too sure, I may have got that wrong, but it's definitely just kind of going through what their life is like at the moment, kind of things that they're worrying about. There's definitely multiple points of view, kind of everyone has their priorities and different things that they're trying to think of. You do definitely get the kind of fairy tale-esque feeling with this one as well, obviously with some of the magical realism elements, but we do also have kind of an evil stepmother and things like that, which is adding to that kind of folklore fairy tale feeling with this one. But yeah, I would say even at the 65% mark, I was thinking that once the magical elements started to come in at around 30%, the pace may pick up, but it has still been quite a slow paced read from that point to now, and I do think that's going to continue probably until the later end of the book, maybe up until the end, because this is a trilogy, so this is maybe just a bit of a setup book, a bit of a prelude to what the series is going to be. But still really enjoying it, liking our main character, really enjoying Fastia's point of view. I like that she's quite strong-willed, you know, she doesn't fit that mould of what a girl should be at this time. She's definitely very brave, but also considerate and sweet at the same time as well, and I'm liking how that's being explored and how that's being portrayed within the story. It's definitely still giving me Anna Karenina vibes, and I don't know if it's just because I've read that somewhat recently and because it's obviously set in Russia and the names may be quite similar, but I think it's just because they're both stories of kind of slice of life, stories of love, stories of self-discovery, stories of kind of self-preservation, and it's just very much mirroring kind of the feelings and sentiments I had for Anna Karenina. Obviously it's much shorter. Anna Karenina is a really long book and it obviously doesn't have the magical realism elements in there either, but it just gave me those same vibes. But I really liked Anna Karenina. It was a really good book, I really enjoyed it, so obviously I'm really enjoying this as well. I would just say that the pacing of this one is probably a little slower than I usually like, but I'm still enjoying the story, still enjoying the book, so probably going to read a bit more tonight. I think it's around an hour and 30 minutes or about 2 hours left in the audiobook for this one, so I was hoping to get a bit more read this afternoon, but I've ended up just chilling and watching a bit of Booktube, and obviously it's Bookmas at the moment, so there's loads of videos to catch up on as well. But definitely going to finish this probably this evening, if not between this evening and tomorrow morning when I'm getting ready. And I am actually starting my reread of A Court of Mist and Fury, so I really want to try and get this one done so that I can use some time tomorrow to start that reread, because I have to have that read by next Thursday, so it would be good to get a head start on that one as well. But yeah, hopefully going to finish this then between this evening and tomorrow morning, and I'll come on and tell you my final thoughts. It's now Sunday, so I have now finished The Bear and the Nightingale, and in the end I did really enjoy this. I don't think it was quite exactly what I was expecting from the book. I did expect it to be maybe a bit more whimsical and a bit more fairy tale-esque from the start, but I think, as I was saying, for the most part, up until around the 60% mark, it was very much more slice of life and just kind of following Fasilia's life up until that point, even though we were getting little snippets of her being able to see, you know, like the little folk and some of the folklore that was coming in from the Russian folklore was really interesting, and something I'm going to be looking up after. But it was very minimal. It was very much not even a sprinkle of magical realism. It was just kind of there very much in the background. But I think after the 60% mark, that's when it really picked up and kind of turned into more of the story that I thought it was going to be, and I definitely got to a point where I didn't want to put it down. So it was a really enjoyable ending. It's one of those ones where it doesn't quite end on a cliffhanger, but it does end on kind of an open ending where if you finish there, you might be okay. You know, it's not going to have me rushing to read the second book, because I'm not, you know, highly anticipating what's going to happen after a huge event or anything like that. It isn't tied up quite neatly. There is going to be, you know, a follow-on story for Fastia after this book, but it's not a big cliffhanger, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think overall really enjoyed this. It was slow at times, and as I say, it was probably just more to do with what I was expecting from the book rather than the actual book itself. I think the writing was really beautiful. I liked the exploration of the folklore and how it was kind of woven into the story. I will say, I read the author's note at the start of this, and she does say that she takes a lot of liberties with some of the naming namings of things and the way that the names were maybe pronounced and things like that, just because she was trying to cater to English speaking readers. So I will do a bit more research on that probably, because I'm really interested in the Russian folklore now. So I do want to do a bit more research in that. But yeah, I think overall I'd probably give this one a 4-star. It wasn't quite 5-star. It wasn't one that had me gripped the entire time. It's not one that I think I'll be rushing to read the sequel to, but in terms of the folklore, in terms of the story, in terms of the writing, I think this was a really solid book. So yeah, overall I'd give it 4 stars. So that's everything this week. I've really enjoyed just being a bit festive, getting cozy. I've been highly anticipating the start of December so that I can put up my decorations and just start to feel really festive. It's my favourite time of the year, so really excited that we're finally here. But let me know if you've read any of these, what your thoughts and feelings were about them, or any books that you think I would like based on my enjoyment of these. I always love to hear your recommendations, so definitely put those down in the comments below. If you like this video, do remember to give it a like, and if you want to see more from me, remember to subscribe. I post 2 videos per week and it's videos like this, so reading vlogs, book shopping vlogs, book hauls, book recommendations, all good bookish things like that. Other than that, thanks so much for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one soon. Bye!